We're live,
We're back.
back in action to talk about Law 27 of the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Yep.
We missed these laws. So, Law 27, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Play on people's need to believe, create a cult-like following. People have an overwhelming desire to believe in something. Become the focal point of such desire by offering them a cause, a new faith to follow. Keep your words vague but full of promise. Emphasize enthusiasm over rationality and clear thinking. Give your new disciples rituals to perform. Ask them to make sacrifices on your behalf. In the absence of organized religion and grand causes, your new belief system will bring you untold power. Talk about manipulation.
Oh,
But it's talking about cults, right? And cults have that reputation.
absolutely.
So what do you think about Law 27? I mean, this one
You
is...
know, I like Robert Greene a lot, but Law 27, I don't like it at all.
I think it's very dangerous. I think
Well,
it's a dangerous
it's good
law.
to be aware of it so that you don't get played.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
But I'm not interested in creating a cult and having people follow me for a false... it's very deceiving and manipulative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it exist? Absolutely. They give examples of the law.
Correct.
It happens in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, in politics, religion.
Yep.
Religion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because that's a really good point. Because I came in thinking that this is very dangerous. You're teaching people how to create a cult.
Right.
However, the other angle of it is, yes, it's a way that you can protect yourself from people who are using these techniques.
Right.
Which have been in history, continued, like you say, whether it's in politics or even in a workplace. I can think of, we've been involved in, not cults, but we've been involved in certain situations that have elements of this.
Yes.
And we can talk about a few of those, but there's one in particular that I'm thinking of, and this is a gentleman that I respect very much in terms of what they've been able to do in their life and business. They're extremely successful and very well known throughout the internet. And we went to go see this gentleman once it was a recruiting event. He had a team that they were recruiting, right? And we were invited, you and I. And it was like the moment we got there, it was prepping us. This gentleman's coming. This guy's coming. He's coming. He's amazing. Everybody says positive things about this person. And then the person finally shows up. And the crowd, which Robert Greene talks about using the crowd, right? Because it's very rare that somebody's going to go against what the crowd's feelings are. So all of a sudden, you remember that night, the crowd went crazy when he runs into the room, almost like a what, like a boxer, or like
Messiah.
It was going
That's
into
a tremendous sports
event. The person walks in, everybody's got their cameras, and there's this euphoria, there's this feeling that comes
Well,
within
the
you.
energy level, I remember, was off the charts.
Correct.
And, I'm cool and collected, but I felt out of place because, I've seen this gentleman and he does have a lot of good stuff to say, and we were following him at that time. And he's very,
Still
very
do.
good.
I still listen to his material.
Very good research that he's done, and
Absolutely.
tremendous. And he's been able to accomplish both in his family life. I think he has a great family, and also tremendous amount of business that he's put together in a very short period of time. He's worth a ton of money.
Right.
But I felt out of place because I didn't have that euphoria. And I'll share something with you that I probably didn't, but the guy that was sitting to my right scared the living daylights out of me, because when this gentleman walked into the room, this guy jumped off his chair screaming. And I thought, when that happened, he got me off guard, right? I knew that the anticipation was for this gentleman to come into the room. But when he did, and this guy jumped off the chair, he scared the living daylights out of me. And then
we're talking grown man. Grown man.
Yeah.
So we were not in our element. We weren't part of that environment. They were. Right. It's a recruiting event. That's all part of the thing. But I just brought it up because I thought it was interesting, because that was a situation that you could feel it in the crowd. And this gentleman, who was very successful, has created that following. He's created that following, and it's interesting because there's a rule book, essentially.
There is a rule book. They have like 5 rules, and the first one is to be vague,
with your message.
Keep your message vague and simple. Do not overpromise. So they've got like 5 rules that they've delineated, so that you can create a cult-like following.
Yeah.
I'm not interested, Mike. It's not my thing. I don't want to lead people, in a falsehood type of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what this is. Because they compare this to the Philosopher's Stone.
Correct.
Okay, and so, that was a gimmick. And so,
well, I want to get into that, and if you can share like what the Philosopher's Stones. I hadn't heard of it before.
Right.
But the last thing on this meeting that we went to was the room was maybe, let's say, 100 people.
Yeah, it was about 120 people.
Something like that.
It was packed.
Yeah, and I think in every business and organization, corporation, in politics, there are elements of this law 27 at play. One of the key points was create an enemy if one doesn't exist.
Well, that's number 5.
I thought that
set up a position of us versus them mentality. And if you don't have an enemy, create one.
That is extremely powerful.
That's number 5.
And that applies in many places, like even in a sales environment. Like you're out there and you have this. It's the hour, so we'll let it go.
Oh my goodness.
We'll leave it in. We won't edit it out.
No, you have our apologies.
You have our apologies. So
good.
This
4 o'clock in the morning.
This idea of like we have a message that we need to push, that's in sales organizations. I remember that. So anyways, what I want to bring up was that this is everywhere. This isn't like only in a cult. You can have elements of this law in many different situations in life. That's what Robert Greene is saying.
Yeah, I agree. And there are people out there that would look at quote unquote a sales force as a deviant kind of wave, let's say, because let's be truthful, the leader of any organization has to have a certain degree of magnetism, charisma, okay? Mm-hmm. You need to be able to inject energy into your staff, okay? You need to be able to be supportive. You need to be able to be positive, okay? I remember many times having meetings with the sales force in the insurance industry and making references to we are cheerleaders. We are cheerleaders. Keep your eye on the ball and on the positiveness of what may come of this. Mm-hmm. And there's some negative, but if you dwell on the negative, you're not going to reach your goals. And the point was to get sales. Right. You're absolutely correct. There are some elements of this.
What are the elements? You said there's five, right?
There's five. One of them you mentioned right off the bat, which was keep it vague. You don't want to be too specific, because then what happens with your followers is that they expect you to meet those expectations, let's say, that you have put forth. So you need to have a vague message. Okay? You also cover the fifth one, which was extremely important, which is create a mentality of us versus them.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you don't have an enemy, you create one.
Wow. That's so powerful right there.
Well, that gives people purpose.
Yeah.
You're fighting
right.
for this.
The cause.
The cause. The other one was to...
The non-believers.
The non-believers. The other, number two, was to emphasize your vision instead of using the intellectual. Okay? Right. That was number two.
Instead of emotion over rational thinking.
Over rational thinking. Okay? Right. Number three was borrow many forms from organized religions, because what they're saying is religions are a prime example. You pick any one. We're not picking on any religion, but pick any one.
Right.
They have a tremendous number of followers. Okay?
And they have a hierarchy.
That's right. So they are organized. Once you get into a certain level of followers, you must become organized. If you're not, everybody's going to run in different directions and it'll dissipate. So you must keep them organized. Okay?
Yeah.
Underneath this one, they said, look, you must act and talk as if you were a prophet. You have a new idea. Like this gentleman that we went to see. He was pushing the idea that he was going to do something different in this business.
In the industry, yeah.
In the industry. He was hiring more women than men. He was hiring more minorities. He was hiring this and that. And he was pushing all these things.
Right. Which he
did.
He did. Now,
he kept his word, but they resonated with many people.
Now, one thing that I think is important to know, it's a multi-level marketing company. Now, we've been to different multi-level marketing meetings because, they've tried to recruit us in different events. And I gotta say, it seems like it's a common thread.
We just tried to get recruited last week, remember? We used one of our people for services in the real estate arena, and then this particular person left a message saying, I have a business opportunity for you.
I don't know if that was multi-level marketing, but yes.
Well, we're trying to get recruited. So
yeah, maybe it was. Maybe.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if it was, but
anyways,
not interested.
Yeah, but for some reason, the different multi-level marketing that you and I have gone to meetings, we've even been a part of one over a decade ago. It seems to kind of have this same thread, of us versus them. We have this cause. There's usually one person who's like the Messiah in the company and has doing all these things and has made all this money and has all these cars and right. There's usually something like that.
Right. They put can we call it a facade type of thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Because, not everybody has the ability to get there. There's a lot to be said about that. Let me say the number 4
okay.
So that we get these 5 out of the way. It says, disguise, and this one is extremely important, disguise your source of income.
Wow.
So your source of income, almost 100%, will come from your followers. Because you're asking them, don't worry about material things, or you have to donate, you have to give 10%, you've heard the 10%, right? So the tithing and so forth. So disguise your source of income. Don't let them know that your major source of income is coming from your followers. Mm-hmm. You have to make it seem like if it's coming somewhere else. Okay?
Right.
So the law in itself is it's a lying thing, it's deviant. malicious because you're leading people into one particular direction for your well-being.
Right.
You know, he says it in the law. Be careful that you are not collared or associated with a dictator. You don't want to seem to be a dictator. Okay? And thereby why they're saying keep it vague, you know, because they're going to hold you to specifics that you mentioned. So, you know, as far as I am concerned, in this point in my life, not interested at all. However, okay, it's very, very important to be aware that it happens all the time today.
Correct.
In business, in the corporate world, in entertainment, in politics, people are being manipulated left and right. And so being aware of this law is a gold nugget in your pocket.
Yeah.
So that you don't allow yourself
To fall prey.
to fall prey. And if you do, you're quite aware of what you're doing, so you can put the brakes whenever you want to.
Correct.
Maybe you want to go to first base on that one, but not all the way to home or third base, you know? It depends.
You know, there's also a Netflix documentary called How to Become a Cult Leader, which I
Really?
did watch.
Oh, wow.
It's on Netflix. How to
Okay.
Become a Cult Leader. And they go through several of the most famous cults. And I remember mentioning it, and somebody was like, why would you watch that? And it's, you could say it's for, well, I've always been interested in the psychology aspect of it, human nature, and how these people believe in these people, you know, this leader of a cult, and eventually they fall. But that's an interesting one for people who want to listen more about that, because you can say, hey, you can learn from that too, and say, look, this is where how they fell into it, and this is how you can avoid falling into something like that, because you know, apparently you could be part of a cult and not even know it.
Yeah.
What I thought was really powerful, this quote where it said, it's impossible to find the distance to be skeptical when you are in a crowd. Because the power of crowds is you're so close in proximity, and one of the enemies and dangers to this law for somebody who is creating this cult following is skepticism. And when you are, it says it's impossible to find the distance to be skeptical when you're in that crowd. So like we were in that, we were at that meeting, like we opened with, that we went to. This gentleman comes in the room and everybody was, it's kind of, you could easily fall into that, and okay, this guy must be very good at what he does, he must be powerful because look at all the people that follow him. But sometimes the skepticism and the critical thinking isn't there because your emotion is there. So I thought that was really interesting. Skepticism is one of the best arms to have if you think that somebody is, let's say, using this law.
Yeah. You know, there's a fine line between manipulation and persuasion.
Okay.
Okay? When you speak about the word manipulation, many people would say that it has a negative connotation. But when you're persuading someone, okay, that's a more softer tone. And essentially, what is the difference between the two? Someone would argue there is no difference. Okay? It's just like when I started selling insurance, and the company, I worked for a Fortune 500 company, and they trained us, right, on selling life insurance. One of the things that they told us was, you cannot offer too many options because what you're going to do is confuse the subject.
Right.
And so at the most, we were only able to present 2 options, maybe possibly 3, but 2 options was the best. And then based on the need of the person, that was the other thing.
That's more like a smart approach if you throw too much information at somebody. That's not, I
You
wouldn't say
got to
that's.
digest all of that. But what's the difference between persuasion and
Well,
manipulation?
let's look at
These
the
people are
definition.
being manipulated.
A definition, when I look it up,
Like
it says manipulate, handle or control, typically in a skillful manner. That's more like using tools. But it says to control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly, or unscrupulously. That's what it is, to control or influence another person.
right. But for your own personal goal. I think that the person that's being manipulated is being, it's like sheep being taken to slaughter.
Okay.
Because they're not going to end up benefiting in the long run, but the person that's doing the manipulation will. Persuasion, I think,
they don't have to be the one to benefit, but somebody else is benefiting, and it's at their detriment. It's at the person's detriment. Persuade is to cause someone to do something through reasoning or argument. It wasn't easy, but I persuaded him to get to do the right thing. So it's to cause someone to believe something, especially after a sustained effort. You convince somebody of a situation or an event. Provide a sound reason for someone to do something. So persuade is like, the way I'm reading this definition is like somebody sees the light.
Well, yeah, you provide information, you teach something to the person where now they're in a different position than they were before, because now they have this knowledge, verifiable, factual knowledge. And so you've opened their eyes.
Right.
And they can see now a different format. They're more well informed. It's like they're saying, give me the information so I can be well informed to make a good decision.
As opposed to manipulate.
Being totally manipulated.
Right.
Being manipulated, you're in the dark.
Yeah. They're cousins, though.
They're
cousins. It's like, not long ago we were talking about, it was greed and ambition.
Okay.
And then I think we kind of came to the same at the time. We haven't gone through that again, but we went through that conversation and we said, hey, they're cousins.
They're cousins.
Because you can easily fall into the other. But with persuasion, it says to cause somebody to do something through reasoning or argument, which one of the laws is win through actions, not through argument. But anyways, that's what persuasion is. So Robert Greene talks about a charlatan.
Correct.
Which I've heard the word, but I didn't really know, so I looked it up also. A charlatan is a person falsely claiming to have a special knowledge or skill, a fraud.
Right.
So a con artist, somebody who's claiming something that they don't necessarily have.
Here we go again. Well, a charlatan is a liar.
And you talked about the Philosopher's Stone. What was that about? Because that was interesting.
Yeah, the Philosopher's Stone is this guy named Giuseppe Borgia. I believe that he said that he could take a couple of elements, 2 or 3 elements, and forge gold out of it. And the Philosopher's Stone was that he was going to be able to make so much gold from different elements and he convinced everybody. And I don't know if it was him, but I know one of the kings in Hungary or one of the Eastern European countries hired this guy and put him in a room by himself. And he had sneaked in a little nugget of gold.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then he was in there like 3 days or 4 days or something, and he had all these chemical compounds and this and that. And when he finally came out, he showed the king that he had a gold nugget. And he says, we can do a lot of these. And so you have to be very careful.
Like an alchemist.
Yeah, like an alchemist.
You go and bury some metal or something and it turns into gold.
Right. And there's a lot to be said about all that stuff because, now we are producing synthetic diamonds in a lab.
Right.
And my understanding is that you cannot really tell the difference. Now, I'm not an expert by any means in this, but you are forging them at a certain degree of heat with carbons and so forth, and you can form synthetic diamonds in a lab, as opposed to dig them
That's
from the earth and
it's interesting because diamonds they're known they have flaws, right? When
right.
you create a synthetic one, I wonder, is it a flawless diamond?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good enough on it. If we have some jewelers in the audience, they can
We have
comment on it, and we would research it.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Because see, here you go again. That what is okay? So if you can make synthetic diamonds, what will that do to the diamond market?
Well, it exists right now. It's like you can have a fake
Well,
Patek Philippe,
oh,
and or a replica, and what does it do to the Patek Philippe watch?
well, when you open the inside of the watch, you're going to be able to tell immediately if it's fake or not.
I would
The
venture to say,
components won't be the same.
I wonder if the diamond is the same. Like when you really look at it, it's not the same a synthetic one as
I'm going to look into it. That'll be another podcast.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Bring our jeweler in here and talk about it.
Yeah.
But getting back to this law,
Yeah, beware of charlatans.
The benefit, I believe, is to be aware of this when you're being played.
Yeah.
And we're watching a few things on Netflix, and it involves, I'm not trying to pick one career over any other, but it involves a lot of attorneys. And they're getting played left and right, especially in preparation to go to court, in what they called discovery. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's like the 48 laws of power being played on a daily basis. So, because you're one against the other, and may the best man, woman win kind of thing. They're being played. And so to know when you're being hustled.
That's what I was going to say, that
it's important.
Yes, one of the worst feelings that I have ever felt was to be hustled, to be taken advantage of, because one tries to, let's say, do good by people, and one tries to sometimes give people the benefit of the doubt. But when you are taken advantage of, that's, to me, one of the worst feelings in the world. And our buddy that was sharing that also, that we met with the other day for coffee, he was sharing how one of his friends, every time they went out to go eat, one of his buddies, when the waiter would come up to pay for the drinks or the food, the guy would disappear.
Well, he said, I need to go to the restroom.
Yeah, he would go to the restroom. Every time and so one of his buddies, his brother told him, hey,
have you noticed that?
Have you noticed every time the waitress comes, every time we go eat, he goes to the bathroom, this guy.
When the time comes to pay,
right.
I'll be right back, I'm good. But our friend never noticed that.
He never noticed it, and
until it was brought to his attention by his brother.
And our friend said, "Look, if you need it, if you want me to pay for your drink, I'll pay for your drink. If you want me to, you're my buddy, I'll pay for you. But don't hustle me." That was the thing, and to be taken advantage of, because you're being taken advantage of. Well,
sure, because it was dinner and drinks.
Right.
So you get the bill higher up, and then
right.
You never pay for it, because when the time comes, you know what? I'll be right back. I'm going to the restroom.
So that's to me one of the worst feelings, and I've had it done to me in different situations where you're left like vulnerable. You were like, man, how did I let that happen?
How was I so dumb? Well, I think it's happened to me too.
Yeah.
How was I so stupid that I didn't see this coming? I should have seen this coming and prepared for it.
But you learn from it.
Oh.
You do learn from it, because that horrible feeling you hold on to, and you never again.
Yeah, you don't want to go through it. Right.
Right. So, beware, because,
Yeah, this law is powerful, so that you can be aware that you're being played by somebody.
Yeah.
And, there's two stories to every story. There's another story out there that they brought up to this gentleman's attention. Hey, you're being played by these people. And the reply that he gave was, I know. I know, but I'm letting it go as far as I wanted to let it go. And at the end, who's really being played? Then he gave the example of how he felt that he wasn't.
But he was aware
He
then.
was quite aware. He
So
was
that I would say is different.
he was a genius in disguise. This guy was, and the thing was that he was an older man going out with younger women.
Oh.
Okay. I don't want to give any more information other than that.
Yeah,
He's an older man going out with younger women, and
he
one of
knew
his buddies
he knew
said,
he was
"Hey, you're
being played.
And he says, "Yeah, but who's really being played?" And so,
Well, as long as he's aware,
Yeah.
right? If you're aware what's happening, that's different because you are thinking critically and to a certain extent, and you are skeptical and you're not as trusting. But
and you can get very cynical. Like, you see some pictures of a really older gentleman, right? A little bit of a beer belly, this and that, and then next to him, it's a beautiful woman, and then the caption says, "They're so in love. How much money do you think he? How many millions do you think he has? 100 million, 200 million?" And there can be cynical because they're saying, the prettier the girl, the more money the guy's got. So I mean, I don't want to go there.
it could be.
It can
Maybe
be.
they're really in
Who's
love.
playing who? But anyway, so,
There was you have to be careful because imagine the world of spies.
wow.
There was somebody somebody was sharing a story with me about this spy that worked for a company, and all this company did was wanted to get secrets from other companies to leak the information. That's all they wanted to do. So they hire these or train these spies to befriend high level people within these companies. This is a business. And they actually befriend them. And then when the time comes, boom, they disappear. Once they get the information that they needed, leak whatever information, and it's like, oh my God, you're being played.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how does this spy, how do they live like that? But in their mind, maybe they're thinking, this is a bad company, we got to get them out. I'll do it, whatever.
Or they're just stuffed to the money. If the money is good enough, that's the end of it.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day,
Well,
it is business.
I was reading a book years back, and I hope I don't remember the name of the book, but it was talking about spies and secrets that have been leaked, over the history and stuff like that. And it was one of the chapters said, "Hey, look, the biggest secrets in history, have been told over pillow talk." So, pillow talk. The biggest secrets in history. You're vulnerable. You fall in love with somebody, and then they have an ulterior motive, and they question you, and over pillow talk you spill the beans, and then there
Samson
goes
and Delilah.
the spy. Samson and
if
Delilah.
you don't know the story of Samson and Delilah.
Samson and Delilah.
God told Samson, hey, your power, your strength is in your hair, but don't tell anybody. And then Delilah seduces Samson, and he tells her his secret, because was it the Roman Empire? It was some empire wanted to know his secret, and
the following
sure enough,
morning he wakes up all
his hair
shaven,
was cut,
and his strength was gone.
So that's the story of Samson and Delilah. So beware of the Delilahs in your life, the charlatans. But it is a cool law to know. I think it's, like you said, protect yourself from it.
Protect yourself. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.